So the bike I'm going to fix that has the cracked carbon frame is my Cervelo. Now, I'll tell you the sad story of how it got cracked. We were camping in New Mexico and I went for a nice ride, and when I came back to the campsite I leaned my bike against a small tree very carefully so the bike couldn't fall over. But what I didn't know was in the afternoon the winds picked up to about 70 miles an hour, and the wind hit the tree and the tree hit the bike and the bike went flying and it landed on one of those volcanic rocks with all the jagged edges. And the jagged edge, the top tube of the frame, one of the weakest parts of the frame, smacked right into that jagged rock and it cracked the frame. So you can send a carbon frame away to companies that repair them, but I decided I'd look into how I could repair it myself, and I found out about this company, Predatory Cycling, and they sell a kit for repairing carbon frames like this. Now, it's not for repairing an actual broken frame that the tube actually broke in half. It's for fixing cracks, which is what I have, and I'll bring you up close and show you exactly what we're dealing with. I'll show you the bottom first. You can see how it's traveling. So that's the crack right there. Right here, these are just scratches, but this is actually a crack. It looks like it's moving around the tube. You see when I flip the bike right side up again, what the top of it looks like. It looks pretty bad over here. To tell if a frame is just cracked on the surface versus a crack that goes all the way through the tube, you use a coin and you just tap on the frame. You can hear it sounds solid there. Sounds solid here. But watch what happens when we get to the crack. See, it sounds dead. That's because that carbon is not solid anymore. It's actually cracked. It's actually broken there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a patch on it to fix it, a carbon patch. Inside the box is everything you need. The directions. Thank you for your order. This is the epoxy and the hardener. These are mixing cups. Get some rubber gloves, sandpaper you need, some flux brushes, alcohol pads for cleaning it after you sand it. And this right here is compression tape. That's the secret to how the process works. The compression tape squeezes the carbon patches that you put on, and with the epoxy applied to the frame, it bonds the patches. Patches are in here. This is carbon fiber cloth. So that was about $100 for the whole thing. I put the bike in the repair stand so I can access the area that's cracked. Now I'm going to mask it off to protect the rest of the bike. And when I put the epoxy on, I don't want the epoxy to drip on anything. So you start about 1.5 inches away from the crack. You put painter's tape on it, or you could use electrical tape too. Now we're going to cover the rest of the frame with plastic wrap. All right, that's pretty good. Doesn't look nice, but it'll do the job. So now the next step is to secure the plastic wrap with some electrical tape so that epoxy can't go underneath. Now we can start sanding down the crack. The kit comes with 120, 220, and 320 sandpaper. And you start, because we have to get all the paint off and get down to the carbon. So we're going to start with the 120. This is wet sandpaper. So we're going to get the area on the frame wet, and we're going to get the sandpaper wet. And then we're just going to go to work on it. So after about 25 minutes of sanding, it took a while to get through the paint and then get down to the carbon. This is what it looks like. These shots show it from the bottom to the top. Now I thought maybe when I got through the paint I'd see woven fabric, but this is unidirectional carbon. You could see the fibers if you look close. I'll take off some of this tape. So then we're back to the paint. And what we want is to mask off that paint right there, the electrical tape, so the epoxy we put on next can't get on the frame. Next, you have to cut patches out of the carbon fiber material the kit comes with to fit this spot. And you make one patch that covers the crack area, which is going to be a smaller patch, and then you make a bigger patch that wraps around the whole thing. And first you put on the epoxy, then you put the epoxy on the patch, then you apply the patches to the frame. So I didn't just want to wing it, so I made a template out of the masking tape, and I have one patch out of my masking tape, so I know what size it needs to be to cut out of the carbon fiber that'll cover the crack, the complete crack, and almost wrap around the tube. And the other patch is bigger, and this one's going to wrap all the way around the tube. It's going to cover the first patch. The theory is that most of the sanding was around the crack area so that there might be a dip in the tube right now. So when this one goes on, that's at the low point on the tube right now. And when this one goes on, it covers the first one, but it should be still fairly smooth here. There shouldn't be a big bump when you get done because of the dip here from all the sanding. We'll see if it works that way. Time to cut the patches. The carbon material has taped edges to prevent fraying, so I'm cutting that off first. You might notice that the patch is a woven carbon, which is different than my frame. My frame is unidirectional carbon, which has threads running one way. This patch will still bond fine with the unidirectional carbon. So I put on the rubber gloves and I mix the epoxy and the hardener in the little cup, trying to avoid any bubbles, mixing it for about a minute. And now I've got to put the epoxy on the frame. You don't want to put it on too thick, just want a nice even coat all the way around the tube. While that's setting up, I want to get the epoxy into the carbon fiber. I want to do this without separating the weave. Now we can apply the patches. This is the smaller one. I want to make sure it goes around the bottom far enough. Because the crack starts here and goes all the way around. And then this is the bigger one. It's tricky keeping it from fraying, but it's going to bond when we... So this one pretty much wraps all the way around the tube. The heat shrink compression tape I'm wrapping over the patches bonds them and squeezes out excess epoxy. Once I start heating it up, you'll see that happen. Now that we have the shrink wrap tubing on there, we can use a heat gun and get it to shrink and compress the repair. So the patch has to cure for 24 hours with that compression tape holding it tight on there. And heat helps. I don't have a way to put it in a big box or something and create a hot room. So I'm just gonna put it under my desk here, and I'm gonna push a space heater in close to the frame. I might put a blanket over it just to create a pocket of hot space where the patch can cure for 24 hours. We'll come back tomorrow and take a look and see how it came out. So it's been more than 24 hours and I'm excited to see what it looks like. So we're going to unwrap it now and take a look. Get the electrical tape off. Now, this is the compression tape that we heated up. And now you can start to see the repair. Yep. So one side of the compression tape is supposed to release. That's the side we put down. And it's coming off pretty good. Wow. There it is. Looks like a little piece of compression tape got stuck right there. But look at that, comes right off. Wow. Smooth. And not significantly larger than the frame. Boy, I'm impressed with that. Oh, it looks so nice. I might leave it like this. Nothing wrong with being proud of a repair that you did, and I'm sure it would be a conversation starter on rides. And to resurrect a broken frame is pretty cool. Let's keep unwrapping and look at what the patch looks like compared to the paint. Where the masking tape is stuck even more than the electrical tape was. Maybe we should have just used electrical tape throughout. Well, you can definitely see we did some work. Those lines there are epoxy that dried. You'd sand those off if you're going to refinish the frame. I don't know if I'm going to refinish it or not. But the repair looks good. It's very solid. There's no compression at all anymore. You can't get it to budge at all. Let's take the coin again and listen to it. Wow. Boy, I'm happy with that. I think the bike is perfect now. Just maybe better than new. Maybe better than new. So I'm gonna have to think about this. I don't know if I'm gonna repaint this or just leave it the way it is. Might leave it the way it is for a while. One thing I could do, which would be simple, would be to get different colored electrical tape and put a strip of red here, buy some blue, run some blue there, black there, and so on, to just simulate that you've repaired the frame. They do say in the directions that it's good to protect this with some kind of a cover, like you You could spray it with clear coat, or you paint it when you paint the rest of the frame, or you could wrap it with vinyl. So simplest way to protect it would be just to wrap it with electrical tape. I'm very happy with how this repair came out. For $100, boy, it's quite a savings over what you would pay if you had somebody professionally repair the bike. So I didn't have any blue tape, but if you look at the frame now, just using a little red tape and a little black tape, you could sort of disguise it, and it will protect it from the UV rays, the patch. So I'm probably gonna do something like this, spend more time, get some blue tape, and try to make it look a little better. And then I'm just gonna ride it like that. Well, summing up, I can't tell you how happy I am with this Predatory Cycling carbon kit. I was able to repair my frame for the cost of just $100, and an afternoon's labor. Some experimentation, I didn't really know what I was doing. I put on too much epoxy probably, and I may have been able to wrap the compression tape a little better or heat it a little longer to get it to compress a little more, but I still think the finish came out really good. And it's strong. You saw when I was tapping with the coin, it's fixed the problem, and I can ride the bike just like a new bike again, which is great. Because when it originally cracked, I thought maybe I'd have to send it off for a $1,000 repair. If you break your carbon frame, I think you should go ahead and give this a try. If I can do it, you can do it. It didn't require any really special tools, just took a little time. And even though it wasn't perfect for me, or it might not be perfect for you, the end result should be really, really good. So I'd go for it if you break your carbon frame. Might save you a lot of money, and I think you'll have fun too. Predatory Cycling is great for support too. I was able to go on their website and go into their chat, and I got an answer right away from someone who answered some of my specific questions. I've also called them on the phone and talked to Aram. He's the guy in their videos, and he's very helpful too, very personable and interested in making sure that you get a perfect patch when you fix your frame. So this was a really great project, and I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you in the next video.